I'm so poor. I have no technology at home.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just so poor. I have no TV. I don't even have earphones. I have no speakers. If someone from 500 years ago traveled to the future and they ended up in my place, they would think they failed. They would think that they went to the past. I wouldn't even have anything to convince them with. I would show them the sink. And they would be like, really, 500 years to make the water travel?
So I think we had one of those.
It's called the well.
What is this, a fast well? That's pretty cool.
It took 500 years.
Was it like 10 years in the future? You see like a box transport into your room. Someone came out and looked.
I think this is ancient Greece.
just broken clay pots in the round, just like eating with your hands.
No, it's just me. It just you made it, but it's just me.
Go outside. There's loads of good stuff here.
He goes outside. He's like, that guy's fucking poor.
But you live on like the worst high street. All the shops are barricaded and closed. It's just like drunk people throwing up on the street. I think
there's gang violence. Yeah. He's like, I'm going back to Stone Age.
This is a nightmare. With like being emasculated, I was at home all day working from here, and then a plumber was here, so he saw me like not really doing anything, not like working properly, and he was doing things with his hands and stuff. And then at one point he like shook my hand, and I just moisturized. So he had this kind of big calloused hands, and I had the most like supple womanly
he obviously
hands.
doesn't know it's moisturizer.
Well, yeah, he just thinks I have like I've never done labor in my life. Like I've never touched stone.
You have the soofest hands he's ever touched.
I only work with like paints and wool.
Do you think he judged? You think
most womanly hands he's ever seen?
You think he judged you, but he walked back home, and then he's touching his wife's hands, and he's like, "It's not the same.
It's not.
It's not the same."
He loves my hands. He can't get past it.
He never was he doing plumbing? If he never fixes the sewers, he's like, I need one more day. Is your son going to be home? Did he moisturize?
I was Lucky Charm. He can't fix any more toilets without my hands. He's having sex with his wife just with the image of my hand in his head. Just like the hand covering his face.
While they have sex, he's like, tell me I'm fixing your toilet. Tell me.
Do you want me to touch you? No. Hey, your coarse hands off me.
Oh my God.
I want a boy's hands. I want a failing comedian's soft hands.
Teacher's hands.
Occasional teacher's hands.
Oh, the hands of a boy who is the son of my employer. And I don't mean anybody specifically.
My wealthy patron's son's hands.
Moisturized wealthy patron's son's hand just gets more specific every time.
It's just typing it into Pornhub, like the moisturized hands of a wealthy patron's son, and so nothing comes up. I can't find this.
It's funny, but I'm sure that on Pornhub you type this in and there's 20 pages of that.
Loads and loads.
There's 20, and there's a guy who is a wealthy patron's son, moisturized hands. His name's Will.
Yeah, it's just my hands.
You didn't even know?
That's why I have money. I'm just an illicit hand model.
Yeah, I'm a
pretend
teacher,
to be a tutor. Yeah.
I once
you go into my closet, it's just loads of like 3 by 8s of my own hand. There's like pictures of my hand fall out.
I once was working I was like maybe 15, and I was living with my grandparents, and they had a plumber coming in, but no one was home, and they had a plumber coming in. And I was maybe 15, and I was jerking off in front of a computer.
Oh, they probably did the action as well.
I did the action.
Just so I didn't know what it was.
And it wasn't moisturized at all. I did the action. And the plumber, I didn't even notice him, but he was trying to come into the door. He was knocking, but then no one opened the door because no one was home. I was supposed to let him in, and I didn't even hear the doorbell. Maybe I had the earphones on. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then as I was jerking off, there was a window. But that window was not facing the street, I'm never scared of having that window, so I don't have curtains on it.
Yeah.
And then I'm jerking off, and then just out of nowhere I see a guy like this. And he never stopped coming. It could be the same guy.
Oh. Yeah, he did leave it. And then they're there for like a weekend every time as well.
He's just standing by the window.
He doesn't knock on the door anymore. He just goes straight to the window. So that's the only way I could get into the house.
Do it again. You said that you had a very bad experience at a gig. And I said to tell that on a podcast. And I think it's a good time to share because...
Oh, no, it's not even a fun story at all. It was just... There's a gig I started at in Stockwell.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like one of my first gigs. Then I kind of went back, and it's just sad to see, because it's like a bringer, and it's all people talking about like their parents are coming and like their friends are coming, and it's just sad remembering that you kind of like dragged your dad.
Wait, so other people drag their parents and stuff?
Yeah, and I just kind of have to think back of how like I was trying to do comedy, and like my dad like works all day, then I make him come and see a show, and he has to sit through like 3 hours of awful comics.
And then it's not like
and he
you
does
make
like
him proud
times.
at the end.
Yeah,
it's not like you come
bad.
and kill.
Yeah, and I get up and just bomb, and he's like, oh.
I've seen bringer gigs when people bring their... Like I saw this woman bring her child, and she went up, and then she did material about cheating on her husband, which was clearly the fucking child's dad. And then I was looking at the child's face, and it looked like the child didn't know.
Oh my God.
Imagine this is how they choose to tell you. My son's adopted.
Don't worry, son. I made it funny. I've made it.
And then
I've read some jokes about it.
And then they deliver the joke. It gets nothing. I thought it's funny. You know when people do it, I think the joke bombs.
Just seeing your father bomb.
It worked on a different crowd. It worked yesterday, so I don't know who was wrong.
And then you had to drive home in like a stony silence, knowing that your dad isn't going to go anywhere in comedy.
And the comedy is going to end exactly the way the marriage ended.
Yeah. This is where you realise that dreams don't work out. You're like 9 years old. You've never seen failure before. This is your first experience of failure.
You go back to school and you really try hard on these academic things. It's like, no, I'm not going to draw anymore.
You're like, oh, it doesn't just work out.
Yeah, I thought that if you really try, it works. But my dad really tried.
He really wrote that set, and it was bad.
Imagine this is
bad the whole way through.
Imagine the lesson you bestow upon your son is that sometimes your best is not enough. That which made me realize that sometimes even if you try hard, it's not going to work out.
But the dad doesn't even accept it. He thinks it went well. He's like, no, that was good. I gotta go again. I'll go again tomorrow. You can come.
Son, you're just not my crowd.
I'll bring your sister next time. She likes the material.
Just the people pleaser sister. Dad, you're great. When's mom coming home? I'm 12.
I need both parents here.
Oh my God.
My dad don't like that. My dad and I have a kind of relationship where we only really talk about sports.
What sports is it exactly?
Just kind of anything. Like we talk a lot about like cycling and or like rugby or just anything to do with or like football, anything. That's the only thing we can kind of really like.
You talk about a thing.
It's just that's the only thing we kind of communicate about. That's the only thing, like that's our one link. Is that we both know stuff about sports.
The stories we have today are by David Foster Wallace and Vladimir. How would you pronounce it in English?
I think it's Nabokov.
Nabokov. And then I've read about their parents. I always do when I find someone that I like. And then David's parents were a philosophy professor and an English professor.
Yeah.
And then the Nabokov's parents were aristocrats of Russia.
Yeah.
And I've read that and I was like, my dad has 3,000 hours on League of Legends. How can I compete with any of that? And then me and my dad, we connect by talking about League of Legends.
Yeah. Also, when you find out your parents, like, I mean, might have found out, like, when you find out they're not doing the best they could be. Oh
yeah, I don't. Well, my dad is not even.
It's like these dads were philosophers. It's like I could be great. Well, why did you even have me?
Wait, as in like what sense that if you have philosopher parents, like what do you mean?
Yeah, like if they taught philosophy in English at like uni, I could be a genius.
Yeah, if I had, and sorry, parents, but you don't speak English, so that doesn't even matter. But
you didn't even bother to learn English.
Yeah, you can't even learn the language that everybody should speak.
Can't even learn the most popular language there is.
They do speak Russian, which is
it's easy.
Yeah, that's the easiest language. Yeah. But yeah, like I don't really.
Mania zavut Will.
What?
Mania zavut Will.
What's that?
My name is Will in Russian.
Oh. Well, I speak Russian a bit and I couldn't get it, so. Yeah, Mina Zavutvil. Yeah. Well, guys, I didn't just expect you to speak Russian. It's good. It's great.
Yeah, no one expects me to know so many languages.
But I sometimes don't want to call my parents, not because I don't miss them, but just because I don't want to be reminded of where I'm from. Which is a mean thing to say, but it's like my dad and my brother, they both play poker. Poker. Yeah. And they've been playing, like my brother's been playing poker since he was 16 and he's like 24, right?
Yeah.
And then they were both playing poker, and that was a thing they related upon. Like they talked about it. And then once my brother became a pro.
Is he a pro poker player?
Yeah, my brother is just started making money out of it.
Can he get us a podcast studio?
If I asked him to lend us money, he would be very keen on that.
He knows investments.
He knows a guy who knows a guy.
With bad interest rates.
But you'll have to ask in Russian.
Ooh, okay.
So basically, but then once my brother became a pro poker player, suddenly they lost the connection because my dad just wasn't good enough to keep up the conversation.
Sad.
Yeah. But then he switched to League of Legends.
Yeah, just to be better at your brother or something.
My brother was great at League of Legends. My brother was great. He used to play for money.
He's been fully eclipsed.
Yeah, now that I think about it, my brother, he did all these things that people look down on you, but he somehow made money through them.
Yeah.
Which is a skill, I guess. I do things that people think are cool, but I never make money.
Yeah. I've gone completely the opposite way. I do like writing and comedy, but I just fail at them.
Yeah, when people...
I try to take like artistic pursuits and just do them badly instead of doing something shameful well. But yeah, so me and my dad didn't really talk about sports. And there was... Okay, it was whenever like refugees were lost in the news, and there was like a picture of... It was on like the front page in the newspaper. My dad was reading it. And I just said, it's a shame what's going on with it. And he looked at the picture of the refugees and he said, you know, there's a refugee Olympic team. And I was like, know that. Good talk. That's great. That's all.
Okay, that's you.
That's all our connection could be is, you know, they sometimes try the Olympics. And it's like, yeah. But I looked up the refugee Olympic team. They've won no medals.
Do they have a flag?
I think it's just white.
They're
just surrendering to everyone.
It's funny because none of them are.
Oh yeah, so they keep on trying. They've never gotten a medal.
But shouldn't they be like amazing at some sports at least?
Well, clearly not.
Who is sending them? Like,
I think it's just like.
And do you have to be
like, yeah, people that aren't represented by a country or something?
So someone is who's illegal in the country he lives in.
Yeah. And is also quite average at sports.
And then they just go
It's good enough to place.
Shouldn't they be deported? It's like, okay, you can go to the Olympics, but then once you're back, you're not allowed. Because now we know that
you can have your nice fun time at the Olympics.
Yeah, you want to win that bronze medal for... Well, the price is not seeing your family anymore.
You want to go come 6th?
Out of 7.
That's what you're going to get.
You said that there's a refugee week right now, right?
I think it was refugee week last week, I think.
Oh, it's Monday today.
Yeah, no, we missed it. So we forgot all the beginning.
We missed it. It's not topical anymore.
Yeah, we can't do it now. But you know, the Soviet Union is still second all time in medals in the Olympics.
In every? Like just in total?
Yeah, they won the second most all time.
Is it by number or by ratio of people? Because it doesn't... Because if there's a lot of people in your country, of course you're going to have more medals.
Yeah, it's pure numbers.
Pure numbers.
Yeah, but they killed it. They're not even a country.
Yeah, but like
they're still second.
You know what's the best motivation to perform well is knowing that you're gonna die if you don't. It's a very good motivation. You really run fast if you know that you're running for your life and for your wife's life.
Feel free. When the gun at the starting range is a real gun.
yeah.
They just got a picture of your wife in the gulag. So you want to see her again?
Well, you know when you see the sports team and then there's the trainer guy during the break, they go like, let's do formation 4. So in Russia, they all gather around and he just shows their wives. And he doesn't even need to say anything.
All their wives.
He doesn't even need to say anything. He shows the wives and does this.
The big inspirational speech at halftime is just wives. It's just a slideshow of wives.
And then the
In
more
American films, they're like, "You gotta win this. We're a team. We're." In Russia, it's just like loads of boys and wives.
and then the bigger the
Young-
difference between the score, they get new pictures.
Yeah.
When the wives are just
holding
more-
like today's newspaper.
yeah, the guns to the wife's face is closer.
Just more and more family members.
Yeah, there's a son there now.
So it's 20-0. Let's get the girl in.
Well, it's like the Korean pop bands. You know, they've fucking trained in camps since they're like 13.
Yeah.
They're taken away to camps, and then they just have to dance and dance and dance and sing and sing and sing, and then you see them perform, and it's this perfection of pop.
Yeah, they're just dead behind the eyes.
It's just that like, they never. Yeah, exactly. And then there's 50,000 women screeching, and then you can see that it doesn't even.
Yeah, no, it means nothing to them.
It means nothing. It means nothing. Yeah.
Me performing in front of 8 people, my heart soars.
Yeah.
And
You
they've got 50,000 people. There.
you kill it on the way home. You just smile like life's good. And then for the Korean pop singers, they're on the way home. It's like, yeah, it's back to the camp.
They go back to like living it at like an altitude tent, so they can sing longer. They just go back into their weird tents. Their individual 7 altitude
they
tents.
have to live 6 miles above sea level for their lungs to perform.
It's like the Jonas Brothers used to wear like chastity rings
Really?
to like, because I think like 13-year-olds just kept on screaming at them and coming onto them, so they had to start wearing like chastity rings.
I mean,
you can't have sex.
If it's a 13-year-old, you can just kick her away. You don't need a fucking. How weak?
Why did you guys try kicking? you went straight to rings. You didn't even think about kicking. That's part of the training for K-pop groups. They just
kicking 13-year-olds.
Ah!
They send the real 13-year-olds and they have to elbow them.
So 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. is singing, 2 p.m. till 5 it's just like Muay Thai. Come on. It's like girls go, you need to stay pure.
And then also,
you can't ruin my image.
If the 13-year-old, if you're with a 13-year-old and you at the point where she saw your chastity belt, you're too far. Like if she went so far, if you allowed her to see the
chastity, I think it was chastity. It was like a ring. I think.
It's a ring.
It was just like, there's fucking like Lance Armstrong like bands. It was just like a ring.
How is it? How can it be a chastity ring? What
It
does it do?
was just to say like we are chaste. We don't have sex before marriage.
So how does that wait, explain to me. So they have a ring that repels women? Is it anime on it? Like what?
Been wearing this ring my whole life.
Can I take it off?
Someone take this ring off.
Take it off.
Speaking of 13-year-olds, we're talking about Nabokov.
Lolita.
Which we're not talking about, but he did write.
I read that.
Yeah.
I read that. It's masterful. It's great. Have you read it?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's a great book, and then people. I mean, obviously, you can get angry at the book as well, because it's still like an old man and a young girl. But then people really got angry at the film, and it's because the film it doesn't work, because the book is like.
Is the internal monologue.
It's describing the internal monologue of a fucked up person, and just like an intellectual exercise of imagine what this evil man must think, and like what he tells himself and all that stuff. Whereas in a film, it's just the actions. So you're just watching a paedophile for an hour and a half, and everyone's like, "This isn't good." It's like, well, yeah, of course it isn't. It's
because
there's just a tiny bit of narration where he's like, "Ooh, is this wrong?" Because that's not enough.
It's just child porn.
Yeah, it's horrible. The film is horrible.
Every child porn ever made is made after Lolita.
Yeah, but they have none of the intense internal monologue.
Yeah, exactly. Like you just
say it. So the film is like grotesque. And then
I've never even knew there was a film.
Yeah, that was.
It doesn't sound. Whoever got that approved is a pedophile.
Yeah, it's horrible. But I think the thing with Lily was I think I read it when I was 15. So they were just.
Oh, so you, I did imagine. I didn't. You read it at an age where you were relating more to the girl.
Yeah, so they were talking about this guy who was like, oh, I think 14-year-olds are hot, and I was like, yeah, me too. What's wrong with 14-year-olds?
You grew up thinking you're a pedophile?
Yeah, so they're great. What are you talking about? I mean, they're a tiny bit younger than I am.
That's so funny.
There are some 14-year-olds in my year.
You tell people that you read Lolita, and then everybody says it's like, oh, I hate the main guy, and you're like, oh no, I relate to him.
I'm the main guy. And then at the end of the book, she's 17, and like, oh, what a cougar!
So when
this old woman, I'm a young, sprightly 15-year-old boy. But yeah, we're talking about. So it's Vladimir Nabokov, short story Signs and Symbols.
Okay. First of all, you chose the stories, right?
Yeah.
You chose the stories. I was like, you read more. Send me the stories. I read them. Yeah. And then you sent 2 stories, and I read the Nabokov's one, and it was about a mentally ill child who's being visited by his parents. That's the gist of it. And I was like, that is pretty sad. Like, I hope we can make that funny. But let's see what the other story is. And then I read the other story, and it was about a woman accidentally spilling hot water on her newborn. Yeah. And I was like, okay, this is going to be even harder to make funny.
Yeah, it's 2 of the saddest things.
And then I was like, okay, well, maybe we can find something funny in the biography of the people that wrote them. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I wonder what happened to David Foster Wallace. And then
did he live happily ever after?
He fucking hung himself. And I was like, okay. Hey, but Nabokov collected insects. We can talk about that. What a weird guy. Why would you do that?
What a butterflies? Come on, Vlad. What are
you made chess puzzles? So crazy.
I was on a date once. So yeah, just talking to David Foster Wallace. I was on this date, and it was going okay. And then at the end, for whatever reason, we were talking about, like, do you know Joy Division?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned it last. You do really bring up Joy Division in every date.
This is why they're not going well. Everyone I talk to about Joy Division, it just bombs. So we're talking about, like, Joy Division and then New Order, which is what, like, Joy Division became after. And she was like, oh yeah, the lead singer of Joy Division killed himself. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh yeah, he hung himself. And I did, like, that action.
You even now when you did it, this also almost looks like muscle memory.
Yeah, no, I'm so ready. I'm ready with the movement.
It's almost like you've done this before.
I think I had a bit where I can't remember what the bit was, but I talked about someone hanging them. I think I was talking a bit about, like, autoerotic asphyxiation.
Oh yeah.
So, like, I was doing an act out. So just, like, by literally, like, on the day, by muscle memory, I did the fucking...
Yeah, I tell
and
you,
just thought I was talking to, like, a comedian or something, and she looked so upset. And she just said, did you just act out someone hanging themselves? And I was like, yeah, no, I did.
And then it's funny because your vibe in general is so, like... Because I can imagine how you went, like...
Yes, I went from, like, chilling.
Yeah, you went from, like... Yeah, I did that, yeah. Because it's so...
Try to play it out. Like, yeah.
It's so energetic the way you do it too. It's like you're so happy that someone killed themselves. Because you almost never smile, but when you do it,
But I'm so excited about. I just love doing act outs. I'm so excited.
Look at physical comedy.
Fucking Steve Martin over here, man, with his.
It's so funny.
I'm such a bad actor. If I can pull off one bit of act out, I get so happy.
And that bit of act out is hanging himself.
So look at me go.
You should have tried to explain it to her why you're so good at doing that act. It's because I have a joke about erotic asphyxiation, and I've done it so many times that it's just muscle memory at this point.
Yeah, don't worry. I see.
Joy Division.
I talk about killing yourself while coming in front of 9 people in a room. No, it's not going well.
Did you know that Lithuania is number 1 in the world in suicide ratio per capita? In the whole world, including every possible country.
I thought it was like Scandinavian countries.
No. No. This is a small country syndrome. Is big country syndrome, right? Is when big country think that they came up with everything. Like, I was once in Spain, and then they found out I'm from Lithuania, and they brought me some cheese because they thought we don't have any cheese.
Yeah.
But the small country syndrome is when you're proud of anything that your country's good at, even if it's a very bad thing.
Yeah.
So it's like whenever people tell me that, oh, I think Scandinavians are number 1 at killing themselves, or Japanese people, I'm like, they're fucking not.
No one in Japan has ever killed themselves.
Yeah, I can prove it to you. Every forest in Lithuania is a suicide forest.
But I know we have nothing but suicide. We've got suicide marshes. We've got You got Suicide Brooks.
Suicide Bonds.
Yeah, it's not suicide.
Suicide houses.
Everywhere you go. So this podcast, so we talk about short stories
We just choose
that we like and that we've brought.
a short story or a few short stories, and then we like discuss them.
Yeah.
And this
What
today
we think
is
about
not-
them, what we like about them, what we don't like about them. Yeah, so we're talking about Vladimir Nabokov's Signs and Symbols.
correct. I read this today. I read this, and I am not gonna lie. I cried when I finished.
Did you?
I cried
Yeah.
when I finished. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
David Foster Wallace. I read first. It was
Yeah.
good. It was okay. I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
And then I read the.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think Nabokov is might be one of the best writers there is. But with these two stories, like the David Foster Wallace one that we might talk about later, is more of a stab in the heart.
They're sad.
Very intense thing, and it's almost so painful that it's kind of. I mean, the first time I read it was it made you feel awful, but going back to it because you know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you read it and you're like, this made me feel awful. We should discuss this on a comedy podcast. I read it and I cried today, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to make fun of that. I can't wait to put my dick jokes in between those lines.
But then on going back to the David Foster Wallace one, because it's so overwhelming, it's a bit numbing.
Should we discuss the plot?
Yeah, and then so then we'll go back. Yeah, but with the Nabokov one, each time, because I've read it a load of times now, but each time I read it, it's equally affecting because it's more subtle.
It's only 3.5 pages, but
Yeah.
I felt like I had to really concentrate on every single sentence because each sentence in itself had another book in it.
Yeah.
The writing is insane. Because David Foster Wallace, I've read that and I was like, oh, there's some great lines in there. He discussed what's it like to be a man and, the trauma aspect, inflicting trauma upon your own child.
Yeah.
I've read it. I was like, this is good. This is great writing.
Yeah.
But then I read the Nabokov one and I was like, this is an alien writing about humans. How can someone possibly have such a open mind to actually be able to enter other people's minds to such an extent? And then it's almost like a human cannot possibly write that.
Yeah, I think the way
it's like Shrooms wrote a book.
You have to be even to be a good comedian, you have to be weird outside. Like I say, it's when I see a comedian with loads and loads of friends, and they're dancing with 8 people. It's you're not good.
Yeah, you cannot. Well,
you're too you'll be fun. You'll be a fun. You're like a hangout comic.
I wanted to agree.
Pussies and parties, and it's you'll talk about weed and you'll be fun.
I really want to riff with you on this, but the moments of where I was dancing with 8 people are flashing before my eyes, and I feel like I would betray myself.
I mean, I would say this because I'm a loser. I have a vested interest. I have no friends. So
I love how you're sitting there just shitting on me, and I'm like, should I join this riff to shit on me?
Betray myself for the riff.
It is me. I go out there and I fucking kill on that dance floor. But every move I have is equal to one sentence of Nabokov. I'm Chekhov of the dance floor.
The Chekhov of the dance floor. But it's as soon as comedians get posses, and they walk around with groups of 8 or 10 people, they just become comedians. We're better be weird losers.
It's not just comedians. I feel like every single person who has a huge group of friends. If you have a huge group of friends, nobody knows you fully. Probably.
Yeah. Yes. When you see on the top deck of a bus, there's a guy. There are 15 guys, and it's in your head they're all just screaming "Love me." Yes. One of you notice me.
But they do that by spitting on each other.
Yeah, and they just and they're just ramming each other into the fucking rests of the bus. And it's guys.
Well, growing up in Lithuania, I once
crushing beer cans on their head, and they're I want to tell someone that I'm sad.
He's crushing the beer can, but in reality, he's just aiming for the same thing that Nabokov did. When you know the story, we all come from the same fucking. The part of growing up is realizing that when you're 15 and you're in a group of friends and then there's one guy and you go he's gonna grow up to be an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And then you grow up and he's an alcoholic. And he's like, fucking hell, I didn't realize. Yeah. No one, because when you're growing up and then you're in school and you're with your friends, everybody seems special because they're around you.
Yeah.
Even the people you don't like, they seem special.
Yeah.
But then as you grow up, it's like they become stereotypes of other people that you've seen before. Like when I was a child, I was like, I would see an older person. I was like, how do you become this? And now my classmates are that. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, when you see someone you haven't seen for like 10 years and they're just like their hairline's receded a bit, like they've gained a bit of weight, they're like hunching over a bit. Like they're kind of like their posture's gotten worse. You're just like, oh man, you used to say the funniest things in lunch.
Yeah, and then I was expecting you're gonna have a great life.
Yeah, I thought everyone was gonna be the coolest.
And then you just beat your wife. That's all you do now. Because growing up, also, it's like you hear about these evil adults who are committing domestic violence, and like who the fuck could be that? Oh, maybe the guy who throws rocks at cars. That's the guy.
The kid in the corner just punching the locker.
Yeah, maybe that's the guy. Yeah. But you don't realize. You never associate. You always think that the generation you're in is gonna be completely different people, but then you just slowly replace the people that were adults by.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad. We should write a short story about that.
Yeah, no, we're such deep thinkers. So, so this story. So it's about a couple who's an old couple living now in America, but I think they came from somewhere in like Eastern Europe. I think is the idea, because the point is they're meant to be they've fled the Holocaust.
Because there is a part where they describe.
Yeah, that they took like Berlin, Leipzig. So they fled with their kind of young son, moved to a new place in America. I'm not sure where in America they are, but their son is now in a
asylum.
But yeah, mental institution asylum, and has this thing called referential mania.
I would not have remembered that if not for you. I read that and I was like, Will's gonna tell me. I read that. I was like, yes. For me, it's schizophrenia. There's no point in. Is that actually a true disease?
I don't know if it's made up, but I was thinking about with schizophrenia, because I was bulimic for like 10 years, and then I stopped, and sometimes people are like, oh wow, you stopped. How did you, like, what happened? Did you go to therapy or something, or did you like figure it out? And it's like, no, it just worked.
What worked?
Like the bulimia worked. I
hated my body. I stopped eating. My body's great.
Yeah, I did it until I looked good. I'm not a success story in any way.
Well, I think that's, sometimes people have social anxiety, and then they take drugs, and then it like removes the social anxiety, and they become extroverted. It's like, there is a reason why you were afraid of speaking with people. It's because you suck at it. You shouldn't be on drugs. Your brain made you anxious because you're saying horrible stuff.
Yeah, I'm doing so much better. Everyone loves me, so we all hate you.
We hate you. It's like
we liked you in the corner.
They're always creepy and shit, saying weird shit, calling out stuff they shouldn't call out, and it's like, stop taking the medicine, please.
But I think like bulimia is the only mental illness that works.
That is so funny.
No one's been like schizophrenic for so long they become rich.
Yeah, they actually saved the world by killing their mom. No,
it's the only thing that has like a tangible end goal.
I read on Reddit though that there was a schizophrenic guy who posted a Reddit post saying that he loves his voices because they're nice.
Yeah, that's great.
And I was like, I didn't
realize. That's really wholesome schizophrenic post.
Yeah, I didn't realize that is.
The guy's he's always supporting me.
I didn't realize that there is schizophrenia where you look in the mirror and the voice in there is like, looking fucking good today. Man, fucking pussy licking master.
I'd love to have it for schizophrenia, but just like quotes from TV characters I like.
But just timed perfectly.
Yeah. So it's just this like Hank from Larry Sanders, just like, hey now.
And then you go to bed with a girl, and there's what's his name? Fucking I forgot. For freedom.
Yeah, so it's this kid with this thing called referential mania, which I'm not sure if it is a real thing, but in the story, it's described as like he interprets every, almost kind of everything, every like natural occurring phenomena, even like objects. So it's like a kind of ultimate narcissism. That he sees everything as it's it's telling the kind of inner workings of his
The
life.
clouds, the trees, the flowers, the birds are all, they have a secret plan for him.
Yeah, and they're all kind of, some of them are like benevolent. Like they were saying, it was like panes of glass or like water are kind of ambivalent. They don't do a lot. But then things like storms and like are actively trying to like kill him and something.
It's the most beautifully portrayed. It's the most beautifully portrayed mental illness in a fiction. In any kind of fiction I've ever read. The little sentences where he describes the condition.
Yeah.
And he does it so smoothly. He just jumps into his mind just very quickly.
Yeah.
And then jumps out.
Yeah, but this, I think you said the story is 4 pages.
Yeah, 3.5.
And it does so much. Like the economy of words is like insane. It's like a tight like 4-minute joke that just does everything.
Yeah, every sentence you read, and every sentence is like, there's such a high it's like drinking pure apple juice when you should put water in it. The concentration is just, it's like spirit.
Yeah,
it's like it's just so strong that your mind needs time to actually, like you could read 1 page and then don't read for a day just to think about what you read.
Yeah, but it was also the point of the stories that there's loads of like symbols in the story that you're meant to, so the referential mania disease is that he interprets everything as affecting him. So all the symbols in the story, I think we're also meant to read as affecting him.
You know, I hate when I read some fiction and then they just shove some nature in between what's happening, because the author is almost like, don't forget the nature exists and we're all part of nature.
It was about to stab her and it was sunny.
Yeah, David Foster Wallace did that in his book, in his fiction, in that short story. Yeah. There is a part where he's the dad is trying to clean his daughter, his son from the hot water, and it's like this manic episode, and then he goes like, but there is a bird outside cooking his head. I was like, I fucking know birds exist. And it's like, I've
remembered birds. I've always remembered birds.
Yeah, the clouds are passing through. I know the sky is there. I know that this is reality. And I get it. It's because it's almost like a symbolism for the nature that doesn't care what's happening. And the bird like cooks its head, so it kind of realizes.
It's disinterested in this thing that seems like the most important event. Yeah,
and it's like he tries to put some perspective that this is so important, but not really for the bird. Yeah. But yeah, the fucking bird has the brain of a
fucking bird. It's fucking bird.
I hate when they do that, or like when there's a battle in a book. I was reading this Viking book, and then the 2 guys are battling, and then nothing works. There's 2 eagles fighting above them. It's like, what the fuck?
So you get it? The eagles are meant to represent the armies. Just tell me the armies.
No way.
Why are you representing something you're already telling me?
Or like someone dies, and then as they die, then there's a bird who hits a wall.
It's even funnier when they do it in movies, because like in stories there's kind of like a disassociation, so like you're reading, so you have to kind of, there's a bit of pleasure in it because you're creating the image. But like in films where like someone dies and just like a bird literally flies into a window, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Because they had to film that.
Yeah.
And then they're just knowing that it took so, because writing a sentence is whatever.
Yeah, it's just like a crew member just like firing like a fake. No, again, firing fake doves into a window.
Again. Well, we didn't have it.
Just a bag of dead doves. Wow.
I love my job. You know,
He's on equity minimum. It's like $8.20 an hour. It's just like hurling doves.
I don't even get London's living wage for this.
He needs to make sure they go to the next hour, so he gets paid for the next hour. So I think we need more. We need more takes. I'll get some more doves.
We only have live ones. We'll do.
They just start throwing rats. We'll CGI it. Don't worry. We can turn it into a dove.
CGI the rats into the dove.
So that hit harder. That sounded like a rat.
No, it's a fat dove. One of my earliest memories is when I was 9 or something.
Yeah.
And I was watching TV with my parents, and a bird hit the window.
Yeah.
And about 10 minutes later, we got a call saying that my great grandma died.
That's interesting.
And my mom, she was like, "Oh, the bird brought the message."
Yeah.
And even then I remember thinking, it's like, don't fucking hit the window. just fly around and just fly around and make some noise.
Yeah.
Why do you guys? It's just such a. It's like, why did my great grandma send it?
Yeah.
Because even if she did, that's even worse, because that's kind of evil.
It's annoying for the guy on the phone as well. Well, I'm just calling to say your grandma dies. Oh, the bird told us. It's like, no, I gave you the message.
Yeah,
What message did the bird give you? Like, if I hadn't called, you'd know.
Oh, it would be.
Oh, the bird. Oh, your grandma said. Okay, that's fine.
It would be funny if the guy was like, "The bird made it already." We sent him just a few minutes ago.
Did he get through the window? He hit again. Oh, jeez. Now to get another fucking messenger bird.
Train another pigeon.
It's like when people survive like life-threatening surgery and they're like, thank Jesus, or they thank God.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I saved you.
Oh yeah, it's
with
like
my surgery skills.
Why don't you thank God for not having to go through that surgery at all? Like, we should be thinking.
Yeah, well, it's like when people say like the argument against God is like so much evil happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are so many horrible things, but it's like that's because we're not aware of all the things he stopped. There might be.
Imagine you made me religious just now.
Oh my god!
I'm going to the mass tomorrow. It's like
a bird flies into this window. A dove flies. Oh, it's Jesus. Yeah. So the Nabokov story. There's one line which I think makes it. Again, to refer back to the David Foster Wallace one, which is, I think the Nabokov one is so much sadder. There's a moment in it where, so this couple are going to see their son who's in the asylum, and they've been going for, I think, 10 years or something. And there's one line where they reference the woman still does her hair.
Yeah,
like she does up her hair, and just like the idea of like being a mum, like going to see your son who like you can't help, but you're still like putting effort into look nice. It's
interesting. So it's when it's people sometimes say, it's like, oh, I want to look good for myself.
Yeah.
I hate when people say that.
Yeah.
I hate when people say that, because like when someone gets the plastic surgery and like some women get like lip fillers, for example, it's like, I did it for myself. And why is it that? Do you think it's a coincidence that what you just did is also what other people seem to find attractive? Like if people did shit for themselves.
No one ever cuts off their nose.
Yeah, no one has knee fillers. I did this for myself. That would make sense.
I've always wanted massive knees.
Yeah, and then it's like, if there was an apocalypse, you're telling me you would still get lip fillers?
Yeah.
I did it for myself. Yeah, I got a butt lift. When the zombie apocalypse.
Well, it's always it's only for them if it goes well as well. Like if the plastic surgery goes badly, like this was society's fault.
That's a good point.
It's misogyny and it's the patriarchy. But if it goes well, they're like, yeah, this is all for me actually.
That's funny. But these both stories are about having guilt as a parent for how your child turned out.
Yeah.
Which is a very interesting take on the current climate, because so many comics are like, I hate my parents because they gave me trauma. Like trauma is this keyword, right?
Yeah.
And then this is a very different take. Is actually, it's from a parent's point of view. What's it like dealing with knowing that you gave your children?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's so much sadder and scarier. Because if you do like a horror or a drama and it's all like, oh, this bad stuff is happening to me, this scary stuff is happening to me, like obviously it's scary, but if you're two people that are helpless and you're watching something happen, it's like something that you love,
and then you obviously
with everything,
you obviously still question, it's like, was this my fault?
Yeah.
And even though there was no real trauma. That's why I hate when comedians and everyone, not just comedians, but all the liberals are using word trauma so often. And I read this great book. It's The History of DNA. It was a great book and talked about mental illness a lot and what we knew. And in the 70s, or up until the 70s, the main theory was that schizophrenia comes from a bad mom.
Yeah.
So if you were a child and you had voices in your head, it's like, they're telling me, the voices are telling me to jump out a window.
Yeah.
They would be like, because your mom doesn't love you.
Yeah.
It's because your mom doesn't love you and it's her fault. And then there was so many like just moms being affected by that.
Yeah.
And then in the 80s or so, they found that it's schizophrenia is DNA.
Yeah.
And then they were like, sorry, moms, it turns out it wasn't you. It turns out it wasn't your fault. You probably love your child a lot. And then I cannot understand, how do people that right now use the word trauma so often, why are they not afraid that this is exactly the case?
Yeah.
It's not trauma. Trauma is just a filler word for things we still don't know about.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't hate my mom for what she did to me. I should hate her for the genes she gave me.
Yeah.
There's a choice in there.
Yeah, well, I think this is definitely like a comics joke that I can't remember, but it's in like with like serial killer documentaries or like true crime stuff. They always try and show the parents being like evil,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, oh, they beat me or they hit me or something, and then there was like a who was the Ted Bundy?
Yeah,
the hot one. So that they did like a documentary of him.
This is my joke.
Is this your bit?
It's my bit.
I was thinking
You're quoting my bit to me. This is the greatest thing in my life. You know, my dream is when people say
I wish I'd said it's not a very good bit at the beginning. So this comedian really fucked this bit up, but this is like
so glad you kept your opinion about the bit from me. Dude, whenever people say, "Was like, what kind of bits do you want to write?" I always say I want to write bits that someone would quote in a conversation as a point.
Here we go.
Fuck yes.
Well, you
Continue.
carry on. Well, I barely remember. I don't really listen when you're on, but
no, it was a bit about how Ted Bundy's documentary that they tried to spin it, that Ted Bundy had a horrible life.
Yeah.
And then they tell what happened to him in this dramatic tone of voice, and then they go, his stepdad didn't love him and tried too hard to be nice. His grandma was a narcissist. It's like, that's not fucking enough to kill 11 or whatever women.
This is everyone. So his stepdad didn't play catch. And so who plays catch?
Yeah,
I've never played catch.
Yeah, his stepdad was like, "Do you want to play catch?" And he's like, "Time to rape." Like, he's just mad. But yeah, so he did Nabokov. He did a sleep thing. He hated sleep. He also had synesthesia. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, where you sense different things differently. Whatever.
Yeah,
you smell.
Do you have anything?
Taste? No.
It's not that rare, you know. Like statistically.
Yeah.
Like I have one thing that I kind of hate, but it sometimes happens. Is sometimes people have taste. When I see someone, I have taste in my mouth.
Interesting.
But it's always some weird fucking thing. Like, it could be like I was scrolling on Tinder ages ago, and there was this hot girl, and it's old popcorn. It's just old and you cannot shake it.
Yeah.
And we went on a date, and I was on a date, and she was everything she was doing was like fucking old popcorn. Just old popcorn.
Have you ever seen this film Shallow Hal?
No.
So it's a guy that it's played by Jack Black. Do you know Jack Black?
Yeah, of course.
School of Rock.
Yeah. Fat is funny.
Yeah. So he's not fairly unattractive, whatever, but he's really in the film he's really he only wants to date like hot women.
Mm-hmm.
But then,
whoa, what a weirdo!
Yeah.
What a fucking weirdo!
A psychopath.
Cancel him. Does he want him to not have acne?
But he's also like really rude about anyone that's not like a 10.
Oh yeah.
He's like really shallow Hal. So and I can't remember what happens, but like there's some kind of like weird genie magic, whatever stupid film thing where
touches a knob.
Yeah, he touches a knob and suddenly things are different. Future, how science works.
Yeah.
And so that there's something where suddenly he sees people's insides on their outside. So if you're a really good person, you become beautiful in like his eyes.
Oh, he doesn't see like guts and shit, because that's like suddenly I want to fuck her when I can see her kidneys.
These are hearts. And even if you're like you're beautiful, but you're mean on the inside, they look hideous to her or to him.
It's I'm sure this premise was around in Stone Age.
Yeah, so it's not an exciting film. But that's kind of your thing. You're like looking at a hot woman, you just taste old popcorn. And he's like sat opposite at 10. He's like, you're hideous.
Yeah, so maybe the taste that my brain comes up with is actually the taste of
It's their soul.
the soul. It's just old popcorn.
You have an old popcorn heart.
That's the worst superpower.
It's a great superpower. You can taste their soul.
It's like I cannot even I can taste it, but I cannot interpret it. Like, I don't know. Maybe old popcorn is great. Maybe it's old popcorn because she's nice to old people.
What's like your favorite food?
Spicy, because my dog. I have very bad taste buds. I have taste buds of a dog, so I can only feel spicy.
That's with it. Your superpower is to be able to interpret taste. We also have bad taste.
Yeah.
You've got like your own kryptonite.
It's funny how my superpower is my kryptonite. It's like if
your weakness is the power.
It's like if Superman was afraid of heights. I could fly, but I'm afraid.
So help me. No.
You're too high. That's the point. That's why you're here.
Why does everyone fall from so high?
Can't you fall from the first floor? Well, then we wouldn't need you.
You're just catching women
from
ledges. Like, they just step off the street. And
he flies and he's like, oh.
Just hits a window and oh, my grandma's dead. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Well, I'm so glad we found so much fun in a boiling newborn and a mentally ill child and then hanging yourself.
That's what the stories are made of. So good stories are made of. It's boiling children and mentally ill sons.
I dare you for the next week. Find something sadder and we'll make it fun. For the next week, I want a boiling newborn who has mental illness. Can we make that? And then he hangs himself and when he's 2. And we'll make that funny.